What's up? This is Justice. Thank you to everyone that's downloaded and listened to Just Me. If you haven't downloaded it yet, then please do so, and hope you enjoy it. But what I thought I'd do is just give you a little bit of a breakdown of each of the songs on the mixtape to tell you a little bit about the origins of each one and where they all sort of came from. Just to give you guys a little bit of background about each of the songs. So the first track, Just Me, it was actually the last track that I wrote for the mixtape, and I had the other 9 tracks, and I didn't really feel like any of them really had a feel for as an intro, and so I went looking for an intro song, which is kind of dangerous sometimes, because if you have a particular sound in mind, or if you have a particular concept or an idea for a track, a lot of times you'll just end up being disappointed because you're looking for something too specific rather than letting it motivate you. But I did it anyway, and we'd done a song over a Camo and Crooked beat called The Score not too long ago, and I loved that, and so I thought, I wonder what else they've got, and this ended up being the first song that I heard of theirs on YouTube, and I just heard the first, the intro, and I'm like, this is it, this is gonna be it. So I actually originally didn't have a hook for it, and when Sean, the class, was there, I just said, hey man, do you want to maybe sing something on this part of the beat? And I just kind of sang like a little idea, and he's just like, yep, let's do it. So that was a very last minute thing, but I think my favourite thing of that track is a bit nerdy, but props to anyone that picked this up. But at the start, when that part where it starts getting a bit harder and stuff, when I say, Father forgive me for I have sinned, in the following bars I go through all the 7 deadly sins in the lyrics. So there's not much substance behind that, but I just thought it was cool. And also the funniest part of the song for me is when I'm an assassin developing, time traveling, who tried to kill himself, now his memories are unraveling. There's no punchline there. I pretty much just described the plot of Looper, but I love Looper and I thought that sounded cool, so I don't care. The Fight of My Life was one of those songs where I found the beat, or I found the remix. I wrote my verse and I thought my verse was all good. I sent it to 60 and said, hey man, I think you'd sound really good on this. If you want to jump on, then feel free. And he was like, yep, I'm down. And then when he came and recorded his verse, it was one of those times, and rappers will understand this, that you just hear someone else and you're just like, yep, I need to go rewrite my verse, because he just absolutely smashed it. And his verse is the kind of verse that every time I listen to it, I notice something else, or I pay attention to something else. And so and that's how hip hop verses should be. You should always sort of get something new every time you listen to it. So I was this close to going and rewriting my entire verse after I heard 60s, and then I kind of thought, you know what, no matter what I do, this is going to end up being 60s track, because he just absolutely murdered it. So so I just ended up giving in and just saying, you know what, 60, this one's yours. But yeah, he absolutely killed that. So that's The Fight of My Life. So Running Away, I think, is a Star Slinger track, and I was a huge fan of Star Slinger, and one day I was kind of just driving and listening to YouTube clips, and I put this song on and just kind of fell in love with the way it sounded, and I ended up writing that verse, I think, in like half an hour while I was driving. I just drove around in circles for a while. By the time I got home, I kind of had the verse pieced out in my head, and just kind of jotted it down and made a couple of changes, and then just recorded it. So that was one of those times where and this is the best. That's the best way it should be, is when the beat kind of just dictates your words, and the content of that track is kind of perfect for where we are right now, because I feel like we've been doing this for a little while, and right now I feel like I don't know how to get music out there. I don't know how to be heard, and that's in the conventional sense. So I don't know how to get my songs on radio. I don't know who to talk to or what to do. So which is kind of scary, but at the same time, it's nice to just be making music and just be putting it out there for the people that want to listen to it. So yeah. Until next time, I should start by saying that everything in Until Next Time is completely true, and which is a little bit embarrassing, but I started Until Next Time when I got the beat I started just freestyling a couple of ideas for how I might start the verse, and you know, I started by saying, you know, I just freestyled, oh, let me tell you about me, and that kind of just set the tone for the rest of the track. I just sort of thought, you know what, let me just list a whole bunch of things that, you know, about me, or things that have happened to me over time that, you know, have kind of made me who I am. So yeah, and I actually intended there to be a hook in that track, but as I kept writing, I just like kept going and going, and then I felt the beat was like progressing with my verse as I was going, and so I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna go all the way through here. So that was a really fun track to make, and it's probably one of my favorites off the mixtape. So Peter Pan is probably another one of my favorite songs, and you know, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just kind of talking to the people that generally kind of piss me off, like both men and women, and you know, my favorite line is like the worst writing and the worst thing lyrically, but you know, I just love that whole you know, don't be a fuckhead section, because like that's kind of the motto. Just no matter what, like in any situation, just don't be a fuckhead, and you'll be sweet. But yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's social media nowadays, but we're just more susceptible to those types of characters, and you just see them on Facebook, you see them on Twitter, you know, you hear about them a lot more, and so they've probably always been around, but you know, they're just kind of in your face a lot now. So that was kind of my song, to just tell those guys to just shut up and just don't be a fuckhead. His and Hers was a really interesting track to write, and it was another one where the beat kind of dictated what I was going to say. You know, I got the beat, and then, you know, sort of listened to it, and I just sort of immediately heard like two sides to a story. I wasn't sure what it was going to be about, but you know, I think the stuff that I'm saying, if you've been in a relationship before, you know, I guarantee at one point or another, whether you're the guy or the girl, at one point or another, you probably would have felt that way. I think so. You know, I know that I drew on that from not only my relationships, but also like, you know, relationships of other people that I've known and stuff, and yeah, it's just kind of things where you know, when you're in the relationship, it's hard to understand what's going on, and when you've got hindsight, or you know, when you got a friend going through it, you're just like, hey, it's this simple, you know, just relax. But yeah, I kind of liked how that came out, because I think that happens quite a lot. You know what I mean? There's always these two sides, and both of them have, you know, validity in a certain way. But you know, you can't help feeling that way. So that's His and Hers. Everybody's Free is a track that I've wanted to do with Osso for a long time. Like, obviously the version is kind of based off the Romeo and Juliet version, that Quentin Tarver one. And I just think it's like a beautiful like melody. It's a beautiful song, and I always imagined it just being piano and then also singing it, but you know, I didn't really know what I was going to write about. But that's a very, very personal track.
Brother and sister together will make it through. Someday our spirits will take you and do that. And I know you've been hurting, but I have been waiting to be there for you. And I'll be there to help you out whenever I can.
If nothing else, just for Osso's incredible voice. That guy just kills it every time. Never thought that is actually a track. There's no easy way to put this. It's a track about drugs, essentially. So, and not just about drugs, but you know, just about you know, as we get older, you know, I look back on the heydays and the days where, you know, of going out and, you know, hanging with the boys and stuff, and you know, me and my friends, we had this peak period where you know, we were going out all the time, and you know, we were doing drugs and stuff, and you know, we were invincible, and it was kind of like, yeah, this is never going to end. And then eventually, you know, people grow up, and you know, people have different priorities, and so, you know, those times become fewer and fewer, or few and far between. So, you know, that track, me and GMC wrote that. I kind of feel like it encapsulates, you know, perfectly. It reminds me of like an Oasis track, which is perfect because it has that kind of uneasiness about it, that uncomfortableness, but then it's like hopeful and nice as well. But it's just thinking about those times and how we felt like, you know, okay, yep, this is never going to end, this is going to be awesome, but inevitably things always change. So, you know, my verse was very much like almost talking to the drugs. You know, when I say, you know, you made me feel so alive, like we ain't never coming down from here. You know, it's kind of talking to the drugs themselves, because, you know, I felt like that was a big part of you know, what was making that time such a specific time. So The Arrival is probably my favorite song off the mixtape, only because I'm such a sucker for really epic and emotive kind of music, and, you know, it's a little bit unconventional because, you know, the timing's 6/8 and the track is, you know, very orchestral, but, you know, I'm just a sucker for that kind of stuff. And so when I first heard it, I was like, am I going to be able to rap to this? And you know, it's actually a lot easier than I actually thought, and I just love it because you know, I love where the track goes, and then I love how the, you know, with the 6/8 timing, like how the words kind of fit over the song and everything. So you know, that's probably my favorite song off the mixtape. So the very last track, which is Love Is, inspired by a lot of people. I'm gonna give a shout out to Zach from Reach. But it's really just thinking about, or talking about, you know, just all the things, like, you know, both internally and externally that are barriers for us in doing whatever we want to do, and you know, why those things are barriers. And so you know, I kind of just you know, from where I am at the moment, you know, I'm in a mindset where I don't care about making money, or I don't care about making it big, but I do care about just doing stuff that I'm really passionate about. And so and a lot of the time things can get in the way of that. So that's kind of what inspired that track, and that's what it's about. So guys, again, thank you for listening to the mixtape. If you haven't listened, please go download it. It's free, justinchaos.com/justme, and keep an eye out for more music from me and Kay and me in the future.